Good afternoon, traders and investors. My name is JC De Guzman, and we are back to our daily top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis. Remember that in this video, I'm going to talk about my technical analysis on 10 different stocks. I'll give you my overall sentiment and also give you my recommended trade setups. For those who may already have a position in any of these stocks, as well as for those who are still in the planning stage on whether or not they will trade the names. And in addition to that, I'll be discussing the price volume distribution analysis, and I'll make some comments if these stocks have some dividend announcements. Okay, before we get started, I'm going to introduce to you first the 10 different stocks. Let's start with the top 5 gainers. We have AGI, FB, LTG, CPG, VUL. In the top 5 losers list, I have AEV, FGEN, ISM, DMC, CEB. Let's begin with AGI. Does it have any dividend announcements? Nope. AGI does not have Alliance Global. Alliance Global Group Incorporated does not have any dividend announcements yet for 2019. So let's talk about its chart. So today, AGI closed at 14.98. It managed to break out above its resistance at 14.73 just today, right? So meaning to say this previous resistance at 14.73 now stands as its immediate support, thereby making 17.15 its immediate resistance. So let's take a look at today's volume. Did this green candlestick come with a towering or a significant volume? I think it did. This volume bar here is registered more than above the 10-day volume average of AGI. Therefore, the ascent in price was well supported with volume. So that's 1 point for the bulls for me. You know, when there's a green candlestick and the volume is above the 10-day volume average, especially when it doubles the 10-day volume average, for me, there's a high tendency for that ascent in price to become sustainable. Okay, so that's how we interpret it. But that's generally speaking, meaning to say we still have to continue monitoring on the stock, because it doesn't mean we see a green candlestick today and it has a green volume bar that is above the 10-day volume average. It doesn't mean it will be that way every single day. No, sometimes it gives you that bullish sentiment only to give the exact opposite by the next day. So we really have to continue monitoring, actively monitoring the stock, especially if it's in our watch list or if it's in our stock portfolio already. Okay, now for the alignment of the moving averages, I like the alignment. The shorter term ones are hovering the longer term moving averages. Okay, now if and when the price fails to continue its ascent and chooses to bounce away and it breaks down below 14.7, that will make 12.72 as its newest support again. Okay, but until then, it's too early to say that AGI won't be able to continue its ascent above 14.70. It's just Monday. We still have 4 trading days within this week. Okay. Now let me make some comments about the year-to-date net foreign trade for AGI. Judging it from the sizes of these candlesticks, it looks like it's really hard to make an estimate. Oh, not really. I think AGI is on a net foreign selling state. Yep, on a net foreign selling state 2019 year to date. Okay, how did I zoom it out? I just double click. I double clicked. Then you double click again to put it back to its normal position. You can double click on the chart as well here. Okay, or anywhere here. Let's say for the historical volatility. Okay, so that's how you do it. MACD is bullish and historical volatility AGI has a low risk level because of its volatility score of 29%. Okay, before I talk about my overall sentiment and mention my trade setups, let's take a look at my price volume distribution analysis for AGI. So today, again, AGI closed at 14 pesos and 98 centavos, up by 2.46%, and it's 112 million pesos worth of net foreign buying today. That's another point for the bulls. So let's take a look at the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades. So let me see here. Okay, so 14.88 to 15.02. Again, 14.88 to 15.02. That range got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades today. Notice that the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades is close to the intraday high. So that's another point for the bulls, meaning to say it increases my conviction to say that the ascent in price of AGI is more likely to be sustainable. It's more likely sustainable in this case. But again, things change, sentiments change. When things change, therefore, we have to continue monitoring the stocks, especially that the price is not yet that far away from its previous resistance at 14.73. My overall sentiment is bullish. My recommendation for those who already have a position in AGI, here's the thing. If your average price is higher than the current price, which is 14.98, that only means you bought when AGI was perhaps above 15 pesos. Perhaps you bought last October. Yeah, last October 20. When was that? Not last year, but 2 years ago. Okay, so if your average price is higher than 14.98 and you forgot, or maybe you're not yet aware of the trailing stop loss concept back then I would say you will have to calculate your trailing stop loss now. And since your average price is higher than 14.98, the current price, I suggest that you base your trailing stop loss. You start calculating your trailing stop loss from your average price. For example, if your percentage of risk tolerance for AGI is only at 10%, and if your average price is currently at 15.05, try to get 90%. What's the 90% of 15.05? Okay, the answer to that should be the position of your trailing stop loss. Okay. Now, if your average price is less than 14.98 and you forgot to calculate your trailing stop loss as well back then, I suggest that you immediately calculate your trailing stop loss from 14.98, not from your average price. Okay? So if your risk tolerance percentage for AGI is 10%, all you have to do is to get the 90% of 14.98. That will be your trailing stop loss. Make sure that you do an upward adjustment when the price registers a price higher than 14.98. Remember, when calculating trailing stop loss, you don't do a downward adjustment. All adjustments are upward in motion. Okay? What if you don't have a position yet? Okay, is it okay to buy at 14.98? If you are, you can actually do a test buy. Okay, and that will be a buy on breakout strategy then. So you do a test buy. This time, do not forget to calculate your trailing stop loss. Don't forget. Don't forget to calculate your trailing stop loss. It's a mortal. Being forgetful is a mortal sin here in trading. Okay, so to speak. Alright, so do a test buy. Where? Again, not at any price. Forget the word any here. Okay? Monitor it between What's the range that I mentioned a while back? 14.88 all the way to 15.02. Okay, monitor that range, especially in the first 15 to 30 minutes of trading. That's where volatility uh, spikes. Okay, so you've heard my analysis and trade setups and recommendations for AGI. Let's proceed with San Miguel FB. So does it have dividend announcements? Let's find out. Common shares. Let's find out for 2019. Oh, yep, it did, but it was last February 15, 2019. Okay, that was the ex-dividend date of the 40 centavo per share cash dividend. So let's not talk about it anymore because it's finished already. Your cash dividends should have been credited into your accounts last week. If you still don't see that in your account, you have to contact your broker as soon as possible. Okay, let's talk about FB's chart now. So FB closed today at 109 pesos and 109 pesos and 10 centavos. The alignments of the SMAs is still in the bullish position. Today's green candlestick is supported with a volume that's above its 10-day volume average. Okay, for those who have been trading FB for a while now, that should make you a happy camper. MACD is already above the signal line. It has been actually. It has been above the signal line. That's another point for the bulls. FB also has still a low risk level because of its volatility score of 45%. How about the net foreign trade for 2019 year to date? It's easy to identify by just basing it on the height of these net foreign trade bars. FB is approximately on a net foreign buying mode for 2019 year to date. So the acting support is now at 104 pesos. If it breaks down below 104, your next support would be 98.6. But how about the psychological resistance of FB? I already talked about FB in my previous top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis videos, and perhaps by now you already know its psychological resistance. How did I get it? I plotted an up Fibonacci and cited 161.8% of the up Fibonacci extension as its psychological resistance, and that is near 119 pesos. Here, this one. Okay. How likely is it for the price of FB to hit 119? Basing it from the volume that I can see here, especially for the past 3 trading days, it's more likely to continue its ascent towards 119, but it's still too early to say that the chance of it hitting 119 is more imminent than the opposite because it's not yet halfway past through the median, meaning to say the average of 114 and 119. What's the average of 114 and 119? Okay, you do the math. It's a simple arithmetic only. Okay, so there you go for San Miguel. Still same bullish stance for San Miguel. Okay, now let's talk about the price volume distribution. Remember, FB closed today at 109 pesos and 10 centavos with a net foreign trade of 79 million pesos. Net foreign buying. Okay, so this is the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades today. Watch out for 109 up to 110. This one, 109 to 110, that's the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades. That particular range may still be spotted tomorrow, so make sure you monitor that range if you are going to trade this issue. Okay, VWAP is at 109.5. Okay, Alright, so my overall sentiment for FB remains bullish. By the way, one of the possible catalysts that I see here, let's talk a little bit about fundamental, okay? It's not meant to be discussed in here because this is for a short-term guide, okay? Short-term trade setups. The consensus sentiment for FB is that it's going to be one of the consumer companies that will benefit from the election election season. So that's why it's being pumped up by that expectation. So foreign investors are coming in. We just don't know until when. Until when will they have the appetite to continue accumulating San Miguel food and beverage? But as long as we see as the strength in the upward momentum, it's okay to ride onto the momentum and make money from this stock. As long as you are on top of your trailing stop loss, you're not just buying, you're also planning where to exit even before you buy, if that's your attitude. Okay, if that's already engraved into your system, like what I've been always telling you, then I think you are in a position to make some money in this stock then. Okay, my overall sentiment for FB is bullish. If you already have a position in FB, I would suggest that you can choose to top up, add more shares, especially if you still see a strong demand to buy the stock up. This is short-term trading, okay? I would suggest you closely monitor the first 15 to 30 minutes of trading. That's where the volatility spikes higher than usual compared to the other trading hours of the day. Okay, so if you see a strong demand to buy the stock up above 109.10 or above 110 pesos, then you can no, not average down. That's not the appropriate terminology. You can top up. Okay, you can add more shares so you can take advantage of the bullish stance of the majority of traders. Okay, now if you don't have a position yet, you can do a test buy within that range that I gave you a while back, 109 to 110. Do a test buy, don't go all in. You only top up even when you see strong demand to buy the stock at a higher price. Okay, and you can do that if you will check onto the price volume distribution volume review tab if you have a First Metrosec Pro account. If you don't have one and you wish to have access to this one, you have to fulfill the minimum requirements of First Metro. And what is that? You have to trade a cumulative amount of 100,000 pesos in a month, or you maintain a stock portfolio or a mutual fund account worth 200,000 pesos. If you think that's very risky, it's very risky to trade 100,000 immediately on your first month, then there's another way for you to have access to First Metrosec Pro for those minimum requirements to be waived. So how? You will have to attend one of my events, one of our workshops sponsored or organized by Equilist Analytics. Okay, so because when you attend one of our events, one of our workshops here at Equilist, we will send your name to First Metrosec so that we can notify them that, hey, this gentleman, this lady here attended our workshop. Should she or he open a First Metrosec account with you, please qualify her immediately. Not just immediately, but also give her or him 2 months free. Okay, so you will only find that kind of deal when here at Equilist Analytics when you attend one of our workshops. And where will you find those workshops in your area? Just head on to www.equilist.com and then you click on seminars. Okay, maybe there's one in your area. Right now we have one in Tarlac happening this March 23, and then there's a target date in Manila on May 4, in Pampanga May 18, Cebu June 1, Davao June 22, Cavite July 20, Iloilo August 3, and so forth. My team will be putting up everything, all schedules in here for the entire year all the way to 2020. Okay, so that's it for FB. Now let's talk about LTG. Did I already talk about LTG in the past? I think I did last March 1. Back then, LTG was also in the top 5 gainers list. While we're waiting for the chart of LTG to appear, let's check if it has any dividend announcements. LTG has no. Okay, it has no dividend announcements for 2019 yet. Okay, yet. Okay, now let's take a look at the chart of LTG. LTG closed today at 16 pesos and 13.30 rather, 16 pesos and 30 centavos. Today's volume is a little bit higher than its 10-day volume average. MACD is bullish. Note that the confirmed buy signal for for LTG already appeared last March 1. I suppose, yeah. No, not March 1, but March 4. March 4. Yeah, that's when the confirmed buy signal courtesy of the 10 SMA and MACD was spotted. March 4. Okay. LTG has a low risk level due to its volatility score of 38%. Now let's take a look at year-to-date's net foreign trade. Obviously, it's on a net foreign selling mode. There are more bars pointing to the south rather than the bars pointing to the northward direction. Despite the position of LTG's price above the 10 SMA, LTG must do better than this so that it could also regain its position above the 200-day simple moving average. Right now, LTG is still not out of the woods. That is, if you're going to ask me if LTG is already trading inside the bullish territory in a long-term scale, the answer is a no. Okay? For me, LTG must cross or overtake or break out above the resistance at 17.35 to regain that spot. Is it out of the woods when that happens? No, not yet. Why? Because even when the price breaches the resistance at 17.35, the 200-day SMA won't still be positioned below the 50-day simple moving average. Therefore, it means I think we can only see the shorter term SMAs above the longer term SMAs if the price of LTG is already trading near 20 pesos, if not above. So LTG has to do lots of workouts here. Okay, if we are to force it to see the price, or to see the price moving inside the bullish territory in the long term horizon. Okay, we want to see a more optimistic or a more aggressive volume for this ascent in price to become sustainable, because although today's volume is above the 10-day volume average, it's not so snappy. I would say it's not, it does not make me excited or fall off the chair. It doesn't create the reaction like, what, that was strong volume. Nope, it's just a so-so okay volume, so to speak. Okay, so that's it for LTG. Now let's take a look at the price volume. LTG again closed today at 16 pesos and 30 centavos. Today's net foreign trade is a net foreign buying worth 15.5 million pesos. And today's range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades is, take a look at this, 16.30 itself. It got 39% of today's volume, but notice that it only got 47 total trades. Although that's the highest number of trades in a particular price point today, I would like to make some comment here as well, which I've just noticed today, right now, that Before LTG managed to escalate the price all the way to 16.30, I think this range here between 15.8 to 15.9 played a significant role that paved the way for 16.30 to happen today. How did I say so? Notice this, 15.8 all the way to 15.9 got a relatively significant volume as well and a relatively significant number of trades. So it stabilized the the appetite to push the price higher was stabilized, so to speak, within this range, 15.8 to 15.90, volume-wise and the number of trades wise. So this is the foundation of, this is where the foundation of today's intraday high happened. Okay, without this strong volume here, without this foundation between 15.8 to 15.9, I don't think 16.30 will happen. Okay, because I think within this range 15.8 to 15.90, that's when traders saw some clues that some traders are willing to buy the stock higher than 15.8 to 15.90. Okay, okie dokie. So now my overall sentiment for LTG is I have some reservations, so neutral to bullish. Okay, neutral to bullish. If you don't have a position yet on LTG, you can do a test buy within. First, take a look at the range tomorrow. If it starts strong at a price higher or equal to 16.30, maybe you can just do a downward adjustment by maybe 3 to 5 fluctuations and position your buying price, your test buy within that level. However, if it registers a weaker start or a weak start rather, maybe that's a sign that you need to position between 15.8 to 15.9. Okay, so do a test buy. What if you already have a position? You know my evergreen advice. Trailing stop loss. It's a stress-free method. Okay, be on top of your trailing stop loss. Okay, so that's my overall sentiment and trade setups for LTG today. Now let's move on to the next one. We have CPG. Let's check first if I already discussed CPG in the past. Nope, this is the first time since I started recording top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis videos on a daily basis. Okay, CPG. Zero dividend announcements as of yet. Okay, now let's take a look at the chart. Century Properties Group Incorporated or CPG closed today at 0.50 with a relatively strong volume that is above its 10-day volume average. The price today is already made it finally above the 10-day SMA. However, MACD is still busy moving below the signal line. If there's anything that would console, or the consolation here is that it seems that MACD is forming a bullish divergence with the signal line. So it's already poised to cross above the signal line. That is, if the price will continue to go higher within this week. Okay, and every time we see green candlestick, we prefer to see a volume that's higher than its 10-day volume average. That's the only way for the ascent in price to be convincing enough for the majority of traders to believe that there's still there's still a strong demand to trade the stock higher. The alignment of the moving averages are in a perfect bullish position as well. Let me make some comments about the net foreign trade of CPG for 2019 year to date. CPG, presumably, I think my estimate shows that CPG is on a net foreign selling status for 2019 year to date. Okay, it is a low risk stock because of its volatility score of 38%. Okay, support is at 0.46, resistance is at 0.53. Okay, Now let's take a look at the price volume distribution. CPG, remember, it closed today at 0.50 with a net foreign selling worth 215,000 pesos. It's insignificant if you would like to ask me. So I'm not going to factor in the net foreign trade in my overall sentiment for CPG. Now let's take a look at the price or prices that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades. Today CPG, oh wow, 76% of today's volume was registered at 0.50, its closing price, but not necessarily its intraday high, because CPG's intraday high is at 0.51. But take a look at this. 0.50 got 76% of today's volume, and it also got the highest number of trades at 109 trades on the 0.50 spot. If there's a range that I would suggest you monitor tomorrow, that would be between 0.49 to 0.50. Okay, 0.49 to 0.50. My overall sentiment on CPG is bullish. Okay, if you don't have a position yet, it's okay to do a test buy between that range 0.49 to 0.50. If you already have a position and you managed to enter when it was below 0.46, actually regardless if your average price is below 0.46 or higher than 0.50, just follow your trailing stop loss. If you're on the earning side, if you have paper gains already, then that means you can lock in your gains if you're using a trailing stop loss method. If you're using that method, if your average price is higher than 0.50 and you have a trailing stop loss in place, then that means you're not going to risk more than what you can only handle. Okay, so that's it for CPG. Now let's talk about the last in the list among the top 5 gainers is VUL. Okay. Let's pull out the chart of VUL and let's find out also if it has some dividend announcements. Does it have some, one, or none? Okay. It does not have any dividend announcements for 2019 so far. Okay. Now let's talk about the chart of VUL. VUL closed today at 1.41. It managed to respect its support near 1.30. Okay. And today's volume is, let me magnify that. Today's volume is higher than its 10-day volume average. But I personally prefer to see bigger volume than this, because although today's volume is above its 10-day volume average, when you zoom out the chart to its normal position, you barely see the recent day's volume and identify whether they are above the 10-day volume average or not without zooming in. Unlike these volume bars that were registered between August all the way to December last year. You don't need to zoom in just to see if they are above the 10-day volume average, unlike the daily volume registered beginning the third week of December last year all the way this month. Okay, so for this ascent in price to become sustainable in my vocabulary, I prefer to see bigger volume than this. Okay, so besides, although today's closing price is already above the 10-day SMA, the alignment of the longer term and the shorter term moving averages is still in a perfect bearish alignment. This is not what we prefer to see if we are to expect the price to continue moving upward. So, meaning to say, VUL must break out above the resistance at 1.91 for these moving averages to realign themselves according to what most of us prefer to see. Okay? MACD is already moving above the signal line. Let's just continue monitoring and be watchful to see if the price will continue to register green candlesticks with volume above the 10-day volume average, so that the MACD will continue its distance above its trend above the signal line. Okay. VUL has a moderate risk level because of its volatility score of 58%. Let's talk about its net foreign trade. Net foreign trade for 2019. More or less, VUL is on a net foreign selling mode for 2019 year to date. Or net foreign buying rather. Maybe just a little bit, but it's insignificant. This amount, it's insignificant. It's not as high as 10 million pesos worth of net foreign buying or net foreign selling every day. So we're not going to factor it. I'm not going to factor it in my overall sentiment. Again, VUL closed today at 141, 1 pesos and 41 centavos with 700,000 pesos worth of net foreign selling. Still a significant net foreign trade amount. The range that got the biggest volume today is the outstanding price point here is actually 1.41. It got 53% of today's volume with 189 trades. So, if I were to pick a range, I would choose 1.40 all the way to 1.42. 1.40 to 1.42. Monitor that range. My overall sentiment on VUL is neutral to bullish. Okay, neutral to bullish. I still have some reservations because of this not so confident volume that I'm seeing in here. Okay. Besides, the alignment of the moving averages as well is still in a critical stage. It still has VUL still has to cross above several resistance levels to get these moving averages aligned in a bullish position. My overall sentiment again is neutral to bullish. If you don't have a position yet, I'm not going to say you do a test buy right away. Perhaps I would say you continue monitoring the price. Okay, within the first 5 to 10 minutes of trading. If you think the volume is already picking back up, then that should be the time that you need to reevaluate the situation and whether there's data that would support the idea of doing a test buy. But for now, although I'm neutral to bullish, I don't recommend doing a test buy right away. I'm more inclined into suggesting that you continue monitoring. Be on the sidelines for now. Be on a wait and see mode as far as VUL is concerned. Okay. So there you go for my analysis, overall sentiment, and trade setups or recommendations for AGI, FB, LTG, CPG, and VUL. Let's proceed with the top 5 losers, and the first in the list is AEV. Now let's check if AEV has some dividend announcements. AEV today, March 18, it has common shares. Okay, FYI, AEV has 1 peso and 32 centavo cash dividend per common share, and the ex-dividend date is on March 18, 2019. If you'd like to do the dividend play, remember these. Every single AEV shares that you will have in your portfolio before, okay, take a good note of these on, before, and after scenarios. These are very important because a lot of people are asking, sir, if I buy before the ex-dividend date, will those shares be entitled to receive dividends? What if I buy on? What if after? What if, sir, I'm a seller, not a buyer? If I sell before, on, or after, will I receive dividends? And that's what I'm going to answer. So if you will buy AEB shares before March 18, 2019, then all of those new AEV shares will be entitled to receive cash dividend. If you will buy on and after the ex-dividend date, then those new AEV shares will no longer be counted for this cash dividend. Now let's proceed to the selling side. If you will sell before March 18, those shares will not be entitled to receive cash dividend. But if you will sell on or after March 18, then those shares will still be entitled to receive cash dividend on April 5, 2019. The record, that's the payment date. Okay? Just keep on replaying this video if you didn't get if you didn't get whether you will receive dividends or not if you buy on before or after, or if you will sell on before or after the ex-dividend date. Okay? We also have an article. I also wrote an article about 4 to 5 years ago about that. I wrote down the on, before, and after scenarios for buyers and sellers. So it's a cheat sheet. Okay. So there you go for AEV. Now let's talk about the chart of AEV. AEV closed today at 56 pesos and 90 centavos. It's very much closer now to its support rather at 56 pesos. Resistance is at 61.70. If it breaks down below 56 pesos per share, 50.85 will become its active support. Okay? If it breaks out above 61.68 or 61.70, 68 pesos will become its active resistance. The price of AEV has already been moving below its 10-day simple moving average, and the alignment of the moving averages is not what we prefer to see on AEV. Okay, now take a look at the volume. Today's volume is a little bit above or higher than its 10-day volume average, meaning to say there's still a possibility for this descent in price to continue. Meanwhile, the net foreign trade for 2019 year-to-date is a net foreign buying. Is it significant? Yep, it is. Okay, it is a significant amount. Okay, obviously MACD is still busy trending the bearish trend since when? Since the last week of January this year. AEV has a low risk level due to its volatility score of 25%. Now let's take a look at the price volume distribution of AEV. Take note, AEV closed today at 56 pesos and 90 centavos, and it closed with a net foreign selling amount of 37 million pesos, still a significant amount. So what's the range that got the biggest volume today? What's the range or specific price point that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades? I saw it right away. 58.5 got the biggest volume, 47% of today's volume. It also got 180 trades. It's the second to the highest because the highest, the price point that got the highest number of trades is 58 pesos. 365 trades, but only 8% of today's volume. Meanwhile, 56.90 got 17% of today's volume with 64 trades. So I'm not going to recommend a range here. In fact, I'm going to recommend that you monitor 3 solo flight price points, so to say. Okay, it's not going to be a range. 3 not identical, but 3 separate price points. And what are they? First, monitor 56.9. If the price goes higher than 56.9, then you should start monitoring 58. If the price starts going above 58, then 58.5 may act as the intraday resistance. Okay, again, 58, 56.9, 58, 58.5. Okay, so those are the 3 price points that you have to monitor. But given this picture of AEV here, I would suggest that you continue monitoring near 56 pesos. Okay, unless AEV traders will think tomorrow that AEV is already very cheap to be ignored at its current price levels. Okay, it depends really on the sentiment of traders. If they think it's already too cheap to be ignored, then they will start buying it up again. And how do you know if that's what their sentiment is? Of course, you will know on the ask spread, right? So if you see that there are many people who would like to buy AEV, you will see that on the bid-ask spread. When you see that, you may want to do a test buy. So that's my trade setup already. You may do a test buy when you see that happening. But if it does not happen, then continue monitoring AEV near 56 pesos or anywhere near those three price points that I mentioned a while back. Okay? So that's my recommended trade setup. I am bearish on AEV. So there you go for AEV. Now let's move on to FGEN. Let me check first if I already talked about FGEN in the past. Yes, I did. Last March 4. Okay. Last March 4, 2019. Let's also check if it has some dividend announcements. FGEN. Okay, FGEN has or has not. Okay, zero dividend announcements for FGEN for 2019 so far. Nope. Okay, let's talk about the chart. FGEN closed today at 21.5. Unfortunately, it starts to dive below the 10-day simple moving average. Alignment-wise, the 10 SMA, the shorter-term SMAs are still all above the longer-term SMAs. Alignment-wise, it's still a bullish position. It's just that FGEN has already started trading inside the bearish position in a short-term scale. Okay, today's price got a bearish volume because today's volume is above the 10-day volume average. MACD has started to bend downwards as well, but still moving above the signal line. FGEN has a low risk level because of its low volatility has a low risk level because of its volatility score of 30%. Let me make some comments about its net foreign trade. First, for 2019 year to date, it's on a net foreign buying, and that's obvious. Okay, net foreign buying. Is it a significant net foreign trade? Yes, it is. So it's important to factor this in as well in my overall sentiment for FGEN. Now let me take a look at the uh, volume review for FGEN. So again, remember FGEN closed at 21.5 and it's a net foreign selling worth 25 million today. Okay, does that change my reading for the overall net foreign trade for 2019? Nope. It will still be on a net foreign buying status despite today's 25 million pesos worth of net foreign selling. Now anyway, the range that got the biggest volume today is between 21.4 all the way to 21.70. Okay, 21.4 all the way to 21.70. I don't want to consider 22.05 even though it got 10% of today's volume because it only got 8 trades on that spot. Okay, so for the range that got the biggest volume is 21.40 to 21.70. As you can see here, that's the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades. I don't want to consider 22.05 and 22.25 because they just got very few trades. So for me, 21.40 to 21.70 is still the dominant range that we need to monitor if you are interested to trade FGEN. Okay, my overall sentiment on FGEN is bearish. Okay, it's bearish. For me, let me plot this midterm support here. If and when FGEN breaks out below 20 pesos per share, in other words, it has to stay above 20 pesos. Otherwise, there's a strong probability for the next support at 17.70 to be tested if and when it breaks below 20. So if you have FGEN, you don't want FGEN to break down below 20 pesos. Okay? Because otherwise, the chances of seeing FGEN near 17.70 will be higher when it breaks below 20. Okay, now let's talk about the second top loser. We have FGEN. Okay, FGEN, let's take a look first if it has some dividend announcements. Okay, it does not have dividend announcements for 2019. How about the chart? FGEN closed today at 21.5 and the immediate resistance is at 23 pesos. Immediate support is at 17.7. This midterm support here is, which is at 20.20. This serves as the fence, the fence that barricades um, the bears from going deeper or nearer to 17.70. Meaning to say, for as long as the price is above 20.20, then there's a slim chance for the price to hit 17.70. But as soon as the price breaks down below 20.20, the bears will become much stronger. And the probability of hitting 17.70 will be higher when the price is below 20.20 than when it's above that fence, okay, above that line. So today's volume is also above the 10-day volume average, and that adds up to my bearish conviction on FGEN. Okay. Today, for the 2019 year-to-date net foreign trade, FGEN is on a net foreign buying mode. MACD is already still above the 10, above the signal line, although it has already started to bend downwards. So if if the descent in price will continue, then we can expect MACD to cross below the signal line, which is a death cross. FGEN has low risk level because of its volatility score of 35%. Alignment, as far as the alignment of the moving averages is concerned, it's still in a perfect alignment, in a perfect bullish alignment. However, the price has already started to position itself below the 10-day simple moving average. So that reduces the quote-unquote perfectness, if there's such a word, of the bullishness of this kind of an alignment. Okay. Now let's take a look at the price volume review. The range, remember that FGEN closed today at 21.50 and it's a net foreign selling worth 25 million. So the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades is between 21.4 to 21.70. I don't want to consider 22.05 even as a dominant price point, even though it got 10% volume, simply because it only got 8 trades. I also don't want to consider 22.25 as a dominant volume, even though it got 9% of today's volume, because it only got 1 trade. So again, 21.40 to 21.70, that's the range that you need to monitor if you are interested to trade FGEN. Okay, my overall sentiment is bearish on FGEN. If you are a net winner on FGEN because you managed to enter a new position in the stock when it was below 20 pesos, you may want to do some profit taking. If not the entire shares, maybe you can sell some in tranches just to lock in your profits, or you can strictly follow your trailing stop loss. It's up to you. Now, if you don't have a position yet, don't enter a new position yet. Okay, try to monitor if it will break down below 20.20. If it breaks below 20.20, then you start to wait again at 17.70. So that's it for FGEN. Now let's take a look at ISM. I think ISM has been discussed a lot. Oh, just once. That's February 18. Let's see what's new with ISM now. Does it have some dividend announcements? Let's find out. ISM Communications Corporation has no dividend announcement as of yet. It closed today at 5.44. Its major resistance is at 6.83. Its support is at 5.21. Uh, the alignment of the moving averages is not in a bullish position. It's actually in a groggy position, so to say. Okay. So today's volume is above the 10-day volume average, but let me tell you that I really don't like the volume of ISM since when? Since the second week of since February actually. Since the second week of February 2019. It's a relatively very low. You'll have to zoom in. You'll have to zoom in just to just to see. You can barely see with the charts, the volume bars without zooming in. Yeah. So here, let me check the net foreign trade for 2019 year to date. It's a net foreign selling. Okay. MACD has already been moving below the signal line since when? Since the beginning of the third week of Feb. And it has a low risk level because of its volatility score of 20%. Okay, another example of a low risk stock that it doesn't mean it has a low risk level, it doesn't mean you're going to trade it right away. Okay, a low risk level is not a signal to buy the stock right away without investigating further. So let's take a look at the volume review. Remember, it closed today at 5.44 and it got a net foreign selling worth 2.4 million pesos, an insignificant amount. So what's the range that got the biggest number of volume and the highest number of trades today? So ISM, I would say, let's give the award to the range between 5.40 to 5.55. Okay, 5.40 to 5.55. That's the range that got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades today. Okay, my overall sentiment on ISM is still bearish. Be on a watch, be on a wait and see mode near 5.20, 5 to 5.20. As the volume for coming from the sellers increases, I would suggest that you really have to monitor below 5.20 or 5 pesos per share. Okay, now if you don't have a position, don't hurry. And if you're really, if you have a strong bias on ISM and you are really, you feel that you can wait to trade the name, still discipline yourself. Add it on your watch list if you'd like to, but discipline yourself. Be in wait and see mode near 5 to 5.20. Okay. See first if the support level of 5.20 will be broken down or not. Okay. There's still a chance for the price to bounce away once it hits close to 5.20, but until then, if the traders think that ISM is still too expensive at 5.20, therefore they will still start selling then, and then maybe they will reconsider buying the stock up again once it hits maybe 3.6 or maybe lower than 3.6 at 2.32. Okay, so there you go for ISM. Now let's talk about the next stock in the list, DMC. DMCI Holdings. Now let's talk about DMC. So DMC has no dividend announcements today for 2019 year to date. No dividend announcements yet. Now let's take a look at the chart of DMC. DMC closed today at 11.16. It already broke down below the support at 11.18. So the standing support now is at 9.88. Resistance is still at 11.89. Although 11.18 is already at the acting resistance, of course, but I would like to still cite 11.89 or 11.90 as the major resistance. Today's volume is less than or below the 10-day volume average, so there's still a chance for the price to bounce away from 11.16 or 11.18. However, if the traders think that there's still no catalyst that would make them change their sentiments, their bearish sentiments, then the price will continue its direction going to the southward direction. So let's take a look at the net foreign trade year to date. It's a net foreign selling. MACD is still obviously and very bearish. Okay, so it just confirms that my overall sentiment of being bearish is actually true. Okay, so DMC has a low risk level with its volatility score 45%. If the this volume if we continue to see volume below its 10-day volume average and the price does not go farther than 11.16 or 11.18, then there's still a chance for the price to bounce away and go back above for 11.18. However, if the price continues to print red candlesticks and the price, instead of going below the 10-day, lower than the 10-day volume average, it starts registering above the 10-day volume average, then it would be more prudent to wait for DMC to hit 9.88 or below 10. Okay, now let's take a look at the volume review for DMC. Again, DMC closed today at 11.16 with a net foreign selling worth 8 million pesos. The range that you have to monitor that got the biggest volume is first one, 11.16. I'm not going to include 11.18 because 11.18 barely got 1% of today's volume. So after 11.16, you need to watch out for 11.20 all the way to 11.34. Again, 11.16 first, followed by 11.20 all the way to 11.34. That's the price point, and that's the range that you have to monitor if you are to trade the name. But if you don't have a position on DMC yet, do not hurry. If you have a position on DMC, you should know where you should be selling your trailing stop loss. Please, please, please do not forget that. Okay? Do not hurry. Do not enter a new position on DMC yet. My overall sentiment is bearish. So, last but not the least, we have Cebu Pacific. Let's take a look at the chart of SEB. Okay, does CEB have dividend announcements? No, it does not have one yet. Anyway, SEB closed today at 82.35, very close to its support at 80.7. Resistance is at 91.30. The alignment of the moving averages is still in a bullish alignment. However, the price has already started to dive below the 10-day simple moving average, thereby reducing the bullishness of this perfect alignment of the moving averages. Another point is given to the bears because MACD is still busy moving below the signal line. Okay, and today's red candlestick came with a bearish volume, which is above the 10-day volume average. For 2019 year to date, net foreign trade wise, it's on a net foreign buying. Yeah, more or less net foreign buying, or it's a split between net foreign buying and net foreign selling because of this towering this tall net foreign selling bar registered last January 23, 2019. So it's hard really to get an estimate from here. So it could be more or less net foreign selling. So again, it closed today at 82.35 with a net foreign selling worth 4 million pesos. Okay, so the range or the price point that got the biggest volume today is, you see this one, 84.70 got 77% of today's volume, but with 10 trades only. Well, I presume there's a big cross trade that happened at 84.70. That's why I was looking for other ranges. That's why I scrolled to the top a while back, even after seeing 84.70. And I spotted a range that I would rather monitor than 84.70. And what is that range? That's the range between 82.30 all the way to 82.45. Again, 82.30 to 82.45. I think this is a more organic volume than 84.70. Okay, so what's that range again? 82.30 all the way to 82.45. SEB is in our investment guide for long-term investing. It has a buy signal. Okay. If you are not in a hurry, please wait for SEB. Continue monitoring SEB. See if it will revisit the support line at 80.70 or 80 to 80.70. That's where you should buy for long-term investors. Okay. For short-term traders, don't hurry just yet. Wait for some confirmed buy signals. Okay. Wait for the bearish sentiment to settle down for the meantime. Okay, because there might be a chance for the price to go lower than 80 pesos or 80.70, but we are yet to see that. Okay, let be on a wait and see mode also if you are a short-term trader. My overall sentiment on SEB is bearish. Okay, so you've heard my technical analysis and overall sentiment and trade setups for today's top 5 gainers and top 5 losers. So again, my name is JC de Guzman. If you have some questions about these stocks, please post your questions in the thread specific to the to March 11, 2019 top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis. Okay, thank you. I do hope I was able to help you and give you some data-driven reasons if you are to trade these 10 stocks by the next trading day. Thank you and have a great day.